Welcome, everybody, to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, April 15th. We have back with us one of our top performing stocks of 2021 with the last few months. Fans up just about, I think it was a 10 bagger from 25 cents to 225 in about six months. Bit of a pullback with the market. Everything is off. Everything has been on sale for the last 6 weeks. 50% off, half price sale. So Fans is no exception, right in the 90-cent range. But look, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have the 10x to 100x upside potential. We have back with us today Scott Burton, the CEO, Darius Agdami, the president of FansUnite. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks, Jack.
Hey, Jack. Thanks for having us.
It's always great to have you back. You have some fantastic news out just yesterday with the McBookie numbers. Maybe if you can, I want to get some color in that and talk about what else is in the pipeline. You have you got the UK gaming license. You got there's a bunch of catalysts right now in place, and I think we're actually at an interesting time. So I want you to kind of tell us, because right now I'm looking at the chart. I mean, the stock chart looks really fantastic. Like, I always talk about it. It's like this stock is like looking for a reason to go up. So you need to so today, hopefully, we'll get some good reasons for this stock to go up in terms of from the fundamentals. So first of all, let's talk about what's going on with McBookie. Give us some color behind the numbers.
Yeah, it was a good quarter for us. We hit records, kind of all over the place. So, betting volume was a big record for us. We had over 28 million bet on the platform. Revenue, another revenue record for us for any quarter since inception. We had just under $1 million of revenue in Q1 on McBookie. Highs of, I think, over 23,000 bets placed in a single week. That was another record for us. Tons of new active players in the platform. So strong quarter for us, but we still think it's still very early stages in our McBookie kind of life. We've only owned them for about a year now, but continue to grow that platform. We had a milestone to double the revenue from 2019 to 2020. We did that. We have a goal to double the revenue again this year. We're on pace to do that. So a lot of room to grow for us on the McBookie platform.
Okay, and McBookie, which market is this McBookie operating? Is that just Scotland?
So it's actually all of the UK.
All the UK.
We focus our efforts on Scotland. We really want to dominate that niche market right now.
Okay. And how big? It's a small country, but it's like a big niche. Do they bet a lot? Where does McBookie fit into that whole thing?
Yeah, the UK market's massive, right? And one of the premier gaming markets in the entire world. I think there's estimates that there's like 15 or 16 billion pounds of revenue in the gaming market out there. So we get to go after the entire UK market, but again, right now we're focused on let's dominate Scotland, and then let's keep moving outwards to the rest of the UK. Okay,
and now let's talk about in terms of the McBookie. We'll finish off with the McBookie, and then we'll kind of go through because the McBookie thing is really just a small part of the whole operation. The games, you got multiple aspects. You got the esports thing. So McBookie, what's driving the revenue? Is it a specific type of gaming? Like what's getting this doubling in revenue in the last year?
Yeah, so we focus on sports and casino. So on the sports side, traditional soccer and horse racing are two major sports. And then on the casino, everything from slots to table games. The cool thing about McBookie's growth is still very organic. We're not pouring a whole ton of resources into the market right now. That's something we are planning on doing later this year. But right now, the growth has continued to be organic, which is why we're confident we can continue growing that, because we're going to pour additional resources into the business over the course of the next 12 to 24 months.
Okay, and actually, also, you guys were just raised a bunch of money just a couple months ago, right? You still sitting on, I don't know, what, 10 million plus 15 million?
Yeah, I was going to say that ties in something I was going to say around what we're doing with McBookie and why we're so bullish on more growth to come. So we did raise we announced 13.4 million in January. That closed. We have, I think, over 10 million in unexercised warrants, around that number out there still. Good revenue numbers. So we're still sitting on around 15 million because we've been eating into that. One of the things we wanted to do is ramp up on the operational side. So a lot of people. So we kind of went heads down for a couple of months there in terms of hiring and bringing people on. So I think since that time, so February, March, we've added almost 20 people to the team around the world, heavily on the development side, but we've also added some more people directly in Brazil. So a couple of people in Brazil for some of the growth stuff we're doing there. But it also helps us bring capital to McBookie for the marketing. So they've been around quite a long time before fans bought them. But it was really, Paul and Damien have done a great job of running it, but that was, their business. So they had to be very careful on risk management, VIP management, because really it was their bank account at the end of the day that was going to get hit. Whereas now we can add a little more risk tolerance to that business and actually grow it a bit more outside of just Scotland. So one of the reasons they focused, they're very good as a Scottish sports book, but when you can only manage so much risk, it was easier for them to do that in a smaller zone. So what we're doing now is bringing a UK license to the group to bring them off of the current platform they're on. And that's really prevented them from pouring money into the marketing, because technology-wise, it's not quite the best offering they could have, and it's not quite been stable enough to really risk a lot of marketing dollars, and that's going to change. So as Darius said, everything's been organic to now, and we've doubled it again on organic growth without really the marketing spend. Big opportunity in marketing spend coming up this summer with the Euros, so the soccer being over there and Scotland being in it, moving to our license, moving to our platform. So tons of upside still for McBookie.
Okay. Now you mentioned Brazil. I don't think we've really talked about what you're doing. What are you doing in Brazil?
Yeah, so Brazil, we with our platform, it kind of follows a bit of the McBookie strategy. So, we own the technology of the gaming platform, which is a full player account management system, risk management, all the data, all the licenses. And so in certain markets, we've decided, we will go in potentially as an operator, so direct to consumer. So a huge part of our business is B2B, but then McBookie is a direct to consumer. Again, it's got a little niche focus on Scottish sports. We launched a brand in Brazil called Vamos, and that is an esports first product. And it's going to it also does offer casino, and in the coming months, we're going to add traditional sports into it. So it's just started to bring in some revenue. Really what we've been doing is building the infrastructure around that. So that's why we've added some people in Brazil. We've signed on with 2 marketing agencies in Brazil that's going to do work. Really where we're at right now is dialing in our programmatic ad spending. So we're generating traffic now, we're getting signups, we're getting deposits. And then we're planning a pretty big push on the marketing front. So we'll probably come back very soon, I think, and give you an update on Vamos and what we're doing there around the partnership side, because we have some very big plans for that. There's some big events coming up in esports, and it's an esports first brand. So it's a trickle at the moment, but there's about to be some big movement in that site.
Okay, so Vamos. Okay, so the Vamos is Brazil based, and is what? There's a couple hundred. How many people? There's 152. How big is the population? It's pretty sizable, huh? Brazil.
Yeah. I think you're in the hundreds of millions. I don't know the exact number, but it's a sizable one. What is very interesting about it, though, is it's one of the biggest esports fan bases, especially for Counter-Strike. So if you look at stats on viewership of Counter-Strike, which is probably the #1 title for betting, Brazil, Latin America is probably the second biggest viewership in the world for that. So that's kind of why we targeted that as a brand specific. The site's fully translated to Brazilian Portuguese. Every payment method is focused on Brazil. We've got now people on the ground in Brazil. So a lot of effort will go into that. And it's a great esports market, but it is also a pretty good sporting market. So we will be bringing some traditional sports into that site.
Okay, so Brazil. Okay, so basically the focus with Vamos, which is like your Brazilian platform, it's primarily, I guess, it's esports betting first.
Yep. It's esports first. So obviously, when we're going for that age group, 18 to 30-year-olds and gamers, we're going after a very different audience.
Brazil.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I had no idea so they're number 2 in terms of Counter-Strike. That's like the biggest. That's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, in terms of viewership stats, last time we looked, they would have been number 2 for viewership of Counter-Strike.
Why do they like Counter-Strike so much?
They've had some really solid teams, but Counter-Strike's a very old game. And so anywhere that's had a good gaming environment for a long time, you'll find probably a good Counter-Strike base. I mean, it goes back 15 plus years, guys playing the original Counter-Strike. So anywhere that's, I think, got a long history in gaming. So it's big in like Scandinavian countries, Counter-Strike, very big in Eastern Europe. And then you go to Asia and you get a bit of a different mix of games. So it's very title specific based on region. And so one thing we liked is Counter-Strike's how we got our start. So back in 2014, the first thing we ever did was in the Counter-Strike Daily Fantasy. That's really what kicked us off. So we've always had a soft spot for Counter-Strike, but it's also probably the #1 betting title. So it's just been a big focus of ours. So that was a big reason for choosing Brazil.
Okay, so Vamos, you're basically starting the marketing now. So right now you're doing the player acquisition part.
Yep. Yeah. So we've been the last 8 weeks or so has been generating a lot of traffic and signups. We've been we're laying the groundwork. So everything we're doing is to be scalable, and so we're doing a lot of programmatic spending right now, which will allow us to ramp up once we get that dialed in terms of the target marketing and where we're getting users, and signing on affiliates. Then we can really ramp up the spending. So we do that first in any new market. So we're getting that point where we're getting very good information on what's converting well, and then we're going to do a few things around a major launch coming up soon. So we'll come back when that's ready to go. Show you guys what we're doing in Vamos in Brazil, and then bring out some hopefully good registration numbers, signups, deposits.
And okay, here we go. We got some Brazilian gaming analysts on the call right now. So Ryan is saying total esports gaming revenue, Brazil 1.17 billion by 2023. Dollars, or what are they? Real? What are they? The dollar? What are they? Hope it's dollars. Hope it's USD. Okay. And so, do you have any metrics you can share on what is it going to cost you to acquire a player? How you can monetize them? You have anything you can go through that right now, or is it internal? You have anything you can share, basically? I know some of these things are a little bit proprietary.
Yeah, no, it's we tend to not share our acquisition costs and stuff, and we're using some partners there who also don't like us to share it.
Okay. Everybody in this business is very secretive on that side in the gaming business. Yeah. Really, it's like Okay, so so Ryan's saying 1.1. It's $1 billion, that's a lot of money for. I mean, who most people don't even know where Brazil is. I mean, in the U.S. nobody knows where that is. I mean, so basically, you're going to have, and of course, you're going to bring them in for the esports, but your strategy really is to make money on the RNG on those games, right? That's where you have the big margins, right?
That's the best case scenario, I guess, if you can find somebody who comes in to bet, whether it be sports or sports, but if you can get them into your casino, that's where you get the really good lifetime value bumps and really sticky product. They run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're not reliant on having an esports tournament going on or a soccer match. So if you can get people in there, that's sort of gold.
And it's predictable, basically. That's the other thing, right? It's predictable. And the margins. I think what is the margin is something like what's the number? I mean, the profit basically we talked about this a bunch of times recently is that with everybody, everybody's talking about esports, sports betting, that's a big thing. But they're really the profit margins are that are going to be very, very it's going to be like a razor thin. And the way all these guys are going to make money is hopefully somebody goes on their site and then they click over to the the casino games, the online games, which is the thing that you're really developing, these these proprietary games, RNG again. What do you call it? I guess means,
random number generated games.
Show us. You'll probably show us. We have a lot of people. I think a lot of people have seen the demo, but maybe you have a new. But we'll show it anyway, just in case anybody's new. The crash. The other thing.
You want to do that now?
Let's do it right now, and maybe we'll hang on. Yeah, let's. Okay, so
it's probably a good time to do a little update on that, Jack, because I mean it's something we've talked about. So where we're at on the games. You
want to press. You want to roll the demo.
Yeah, for sure. Let's second. Where am I? I was trying to figure out the share thing here.
Yeah,
am I sharing my screen now?
I see I see your whole screen, but you got to do. Okay, here we go. Okay, right. Okay, so I will pop it up here. Okay, we're ready to go.
Ready to go? Okay. So this will show the first 4 games that we've done, and so as you said, there's going to be people who've seen some of these. Where we were at is trying to get our 4 games done before the first aggregators will start to take them. So to do an integration, they want to see you have more than 1 game. So we got our first 4 all through QA ourselves, and then they're now with our first integrator being worked into their platform. So the first one was Titan Gems, a real game. So typical 5x3 real game, sort of what a slot style game is. Manga theme. This one is Crash Heist. Grand Theft Auto look and feel. It's a crash game, so you basically put your money in and try and get it out before the police come here. So you can see the cash out rising. Next one is Team Vortex, which is a first-person shooter-themed futuristic game. Another 5x3 real game. 2 teams here, sort of competing. And then the last one is actually the first game we ever did coming up. Is called Loot Hunter. I'll wait till that one comes up. This one here is built off a loot case concept, so very big in esports, or it's how games monetize. So you play a game and then you buy these cases or crates. So it's an activity that gamers are very much used to. Here it's just giving it a real money aspect. So you buy keys to open crates and win money. So we've got these now going into our first aggregator. Did we lose Darius?
Oh, yes, he's back.
Yeah. So we started building those because again, our esports background was in esports betting. Obviously, we know the value of casino, but the casino products that were out there just weren't appealing to the same user. So again, 18 to 30-year-old gamers were coming on, and we didn't really have much to offer from an existing pool of games that we were looking at. So we set out to build our own last year. So we started Ascot Games. The big distribution model is to get them into these aggregators who then push it out to casinos, online casinos, and sports books. So they'll plug into hundreds of different operators. We got our first one going now, so we're in integration with the EAR platform. It's in their dev environment. Push out very soon.
You should mention the numbers. Mention the number. Let's go, because those numbers are very impressive. Each game, and we talked about this before, like each game can generate how much per casino if it's like, moderately successful.
Yeah, I would say like the numbers are, it's really all over, but it's, a single title could generate to us by casino, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month or million, in the 6 figures, low 6 figures, if it's a really top title. And then that's per game. So
per casino
title, yeah.
And there's thousands of these casinos that you can get into. Okay, so it's
absolutely, yeah. And so that's again the great thing about us making our own is you talk about the scalability of that model where we produce this game and we get it into the distribution chain of aggregators, and they're plugged into hundreds of casinos themselves, and then that game just generates revenue, and we've it doesn't cost us any more once the game's done, once it's out there. So when we have them on our own site, obviously we're taking all of the revenue. When we put them into someone else's site, we take a percentage.
Some of these games, I think just so people can understand, if you have a successful game on one of these, it could make, it becomes like a cash machine. It can make millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, millions or more. I mean, there's some games that are really popular that have been going for decades now on casinos.
I mean, I heard of gamers that are making, the developer is getting paid like, royalties, whatever, like 30 million plus a year, something like some crazy number like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you could, yeah, definitely would be true if you've got a top performing game that's out there, and some, like I said, some of these things have a lifespan of 10 years or more. Some have been around a long time. Obviously, it's like anything entertainment wise. Not everyone's going to be a hit, but we think we're onto something. We've got very good feedback. So, like I said, we're getting it into the first aggregator, and then from there we'll be able to, once we show that one done, we'll be able to push that side very much. Adding to that team right now, we are on our 5th game. We said we'll have 10 by the end of this year, and we're on track to do that.
So next time you're on, we're going to have a 5th game added to that reel, and by December you'll have 10 games to show us.
Yeah, so it depends when the next time I'm on is, I guess, if that 5th game's going to be on that reel. But our 5th game is underway.
Okay.
So there'll be one of the next times I'm on.
I guess the takeaway is that, so there's really kind of, I mean, you have multiple revenue streams, and these games could be like really like the kind of the home run. I mean, this could be like the thing which can make you, I don't know. Let's just say you have 10 games, and they're all like halfway successful. Can you make 10 million a year revenues from 10 games?
Yeah.
I'm not saying home runs. I mean, like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
That's pure profit, by the way. The 10 million is essentially it's full margin.
Yeah. I don't think that's out of the question for sure. This will be the year where we get to see.
Okay, this is the thing that everybody is waiting for. Now, let's talk about the UK gaming license. That's the other thing coming up. We get a couple of questions on that. Let me see. Do we have UK? Okay. Well, first of all, any update on the UK gaming license? When are you going to get this license?
Yeah, so we're still on track for exactly what we thought, which is Q2. So we submitted. Initial feedback was great. It sounds like it's a very clean submission. We've had 0 questions so far, so it's just in the UKGC's hands at the moment. So we've been estimating, if we stick to the timelines that they tell us, it would be around end of May. I'm expecting that maybe to leak into early June, but all indications are end of May, early June. We will be granted our 2 UKGC licenses. So we're doing the same in the UK as we did in Malta, which would be a B2B and a B2C license. So the B2B means we can then offer our gaming platform up to any UKGC licensed operator. The B2C will allow us to run the McBookie brand or any other brand we want to do in the UK.
Okay, so the UK gaming license is coming up probably, let's say, in the next 6 weeks, roughly 6-7 weeks, approximately 4.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks is kind of, I guess, where we're at. Yep.
Okay, and bottom line, okay, so also, can you talk about, like, I mean, the UK gaming license, that's considered like the holy grail, the gold standard.
Yeah, it really is. So, I mean, the UKGC license goes back to, I think it was around 2001. So they really came out and set the initial standards. Probably the toughest regulatory environment, I would say, really once you're operational. So the standards you got to adhere to. Getting the license, I would put, it's been a similar process to what we've been through in the Isle of Man previously, what we did in Malta. But I think in terms of regulatory standards for an operator, they're much higher. But yeah, people look to that as the gold standard. And we know there's other jurisdictions that it can be an advantage going into if you have a UK license.
Like which places, where does that give you an advantage? Once you have the UK gaming license, does it make it easier to get into, I don't know, let's say US markets, or?
Where we're thinking it may come in the near term would be Canada. So we know there's Canadian markets that are looking to open up to outside operators, and my understanding is they're going to look at the UK and possibly even Malta as jurisdictions that if you've got a license there, you'll be granted early entry or entry on day one into the market, and then get the required provincial licenses later. So Waiting to see what comes out of Ontario first, and then likely maybe Alberta here and possibly BC. So starting with the biggest province, then we'll see. But so it's a benefit, I think, possibly in Canada. The U.S. is very different. The U.S. likes to, each state really wants to put their own stamp on their licensing, so they're not going to, it'll be looked at positively, I guess, that you've done that, but it doesn't necessarily help. Where it helps is, going through the process anywhere. We've been through it so many times. Doing the paperwork and making sure, knowing that we're going to satisfy all of the due diligence requirements, that gives us comfort. But the U.S., it doesn't help much.
Okay. Question here. What kind of savings will fans realize once the UK license is obtained?
You want to say, Darius?
Sure, yeah. I think, anytime you operate on a white label, not only are you paying the fixed fees, but you're also paying a rev share. So essentially, the more we're making on that platform, the more we're also going to save. If we look at just 2020 numbers, we probably would have saved close to $1 million if it was on our own platform. So, in 2021, again, on a full year, it would definitely be higher than $1 million that we would save right to our bottom line.
So basically, if you had the UK game license, you'd get $1 million plus to the bottom line from that.
Licensing and moving the tech.
Okay.
So, because part of what we're paying for is the platform, and it was a question. There it is. So, I think our aim was probably be within 90, 120 days. There's quite a few things we're doing to make sure McBookie's got what we think will be the best product in the UK market. So we're adding a lot of things at the moment to that. So and then native applications are another one, getting payments. So it's more hard to say around getting things like banking and payments done, because a lot of that is comes after you get the license. And so we're usually ready before we get all the payments approved and everything. So we're doing as much as we can up front. But within a quarter of the UK GC license would be our aim on McBookie.
Okay. Nick is asking, okay, I'm not sure if I understand this question. Okay, so new game releases. Are you able to provide news to us as each game is released instead of waiting for several to be launched at the same time? I guess he's talking about with revenues, I guess. Do you understand this question? Maybe.
Yeah. So what we can do, what we're waiting on now is, again, it's left sort of our hands with the first 4 games. So the aggregator deal we signed was to take our games. So we signed our first aggregator, but we needed to get up to 4 games before the integrations would begin. So that's where we're at now, and why we've got 4 to show is that's all complete internally. That's been handed to the aggregator to put into their network. So once we get them, once the aggregator pushes them out, we'll be able to kind of come back with updates on how they're looking in terms of revenue performance. Then as we release games, we can come back and announce the release of every game. So we do intend to do that every game that comes out. We will be announcing. And then once we get live with the first aggregator, we're going to be a push to get into more right away.
Okay. What's happening with the esports, launching esports betting in the US? Was it Sky in Colorado you're starting off? Any update on that?
Yeah, it's another one where we've kind of done our part of the job, which was the biggest part, which was doing a remote server installation on tribal lands with the Southern Ute tribes. So we've got our betting engine, our database all sitting there now. We've got the site design done for them. That's up. We've done geofencing, so we've been able to fence off the entire state, including some certain parts within the state. So that's all been done. We've gone through their site. They use a payment system called Sightline, which a lot of people in the US use. So we're fully integrated with Sightline and pass through their process. So from our standpoint, as delivering the software and the site is done. Now we're just waiting for a final regulator down there to say go ahead. So we don't know that date yet. It's, you know, we're hoping any day. We'll come back and let people know. We'll make an announcement when it is live, but it's currently not in our control. Everything we were asked to do is done. It's a good example of how we can go into a state regulatory environment, meet all those rules and regulations around remote server, geofencing, KYC. So we're set up well for that. We did it in, I think, record time for them. It's led to some good opportunities outside of that state. But that's where we're at. We're just waiting for someone else to say, go ahead, turn it on.
So it could be any day, essentially, the esports will launch?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hate putting timing on things that are government related and regulation related, because you never know.
Yeah, there's also delays.
It's ready to go.
Okay, so you've done your part essentially. Now it's just waiting for, I guess, you know, whatever somebody in the office.
It tends to be, you know, somebody going through a checklist of things, and you know, it's everything from looking at the footer on the site, making sure terms and conditions look right. Yeah, we're just waiting for the word.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of Canadian, what's in terms of the Canadian sports betting? All that. What's the deal with that? When is that gonna like start?
Yep. Yeah. So we're very actively looking at Canada right now. So the first thing I think people are asking about is the Bill C-218, which changes the betting laws in Canada, which will allow single event betting. So that's going to its third reading with the House of Commons next week, I believe April 22nd. Oh. And that will be the last reading before then it gets passed to the Senate here, who then votes it in, becomes a law. So the original, or what we had heard previously, was hoping for May, so approval in May, and I think that can still happen. There's a lot of motivation here to do that. So that, if that gets passed, that'll be a big positive thing in Canada. And then the next one we've talked about is Ontario, and I mentioned it a bit earlier, but the provinces, so right now in Canada, the governments run gambling. Some provinces are looking at opening up to outside operators, which would allow an operator like ourselves to either come into the Canadian market legally and operate, or as somebody mentioned there, we're looking to provide our technology to partners. So what you're going to see here in Canada is a lot of people that aren't in betting right now want to get into betting. So we're talking everybody from, you know, telecommunication companies, the media companies, the people who have sports channels, sports networks here, mobile carriers. We've even, I mean, the Toronto Star, a newspaper, announced that they're going to get into sports betting when it's allowed. So we are actively looking at potential partners who are going to use our platform here. And again, having Malta licenses done, having UK will be done by that time.
So you're going to be at a fast track, really, to get, because of the UK and the Malta, that's going to give you a real edge in getting the Canadian license.
Yeah, we think that could be the case in Ontario, at least. That's one of the things they've talked about in their discussions, is to speed this up, because they do want to move fast. So
is Canada still part of the UK? Is that part still like a colony of?
We're still part of the Commonwealth, but yeah. So the passing is.
But there's a certain. I mean, I think in Canada they kind of, you know, there's this kind of, you know, if you have something in the UK, they kind of give it a little more credit. Yeah. You know, carries some weight.
Yeah, and like, I mean, the bill to get passed will have to. The final step is royal assent. So I mean,
okay, I mean, in Alabama, they're not going to care about, you know, the UK gaming license, but you know, in Ontario they will. Okay, so how big? Okay, so in theory, I mean, this is kind of, I guess, this is speculation, but in theory, do you think that how soon could you be operational in Canada, assuming, you know, it gets legalized in let's say by the end of let's say by June?
Yeah, I mean, our what we've been talking to people about, if you know, I don't think Ontario will be June, but maybe, you know, if it's this year, but we're being prepared. We're talking to people and we're saying we would be ready to go for an NFL launch. So, you know, September. again, it depends on how we enter the market. If it's through a partnership and where the technology, a lot of it then depends on them and some of their requirements, which are obviously unknowns at the moment. If we chose to go in directly ourselves as a brand, we'd be ready to go for football.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What, in terms of the UK gaming licenses, again, it's considered like a big deal. Like, how many companies are out there who have that license? Like, in other words, does the market give value? I mean, like, what would that add to the value of the stock? Do you think that would have any impact once you have that license in terms of, what are you hearing from, like, I mean, you're dealing with like a lot of institutional investors, or more and more, I should say, you're getting some. So what have they told you about this?
Yeah. I think it would be a huge milestone for us. It's something we're talking about with institutional investors, or something we're talking about with potential analysts. They're looking at UK as a big step for us to get that. It takes months and months to be able to get that. You need the right team, you need the right kind of resources to get it. So for us, it's going to be a huge milestone, one of our biggest for sure of this year.
Okay. Okay. And I think we have another question about opportunities. I think this guy was asking about the esports betting. So once you get the thing in Colorado, do you have other states that you can enter for esports betting?
Yeah, there are. I think our bigger opportunity will be on the sports side, though, in other states. We're being asked now on that front, so we're talking to people about the sports betting side. So, the sports betting is still a much bigger opportunity financially. The challenge with esports at the state level is not every state has given guidance on esports or allows esports betting. So it's a bit down the list of priorities for the states. Obviously, sports betting is number one because of the huge volumes around NFL and all the major sports. So there's only a handful of states that will allow esports betting at the moment. We saw Colorado as the most favorable to esports, which is why we wanted to go there first. There's when you look at, say, 20 states around sports betting, you're looking at maybe 6 for, I think, really good esports opportunities today. That's going to change. Like, we're talking to regulators. We know a lot of regulators are reaching out to us. We just talked to the Canadian regulators about esports betting. So they're trying to find out more, but sports is an easy one for them. Esports is a bit more to wrap their head around. So our bigger opportunity in the U.S. after this is on the sports side.
Okay, and in terms of you mentioned the financial picture. You have about 10 million in worth of warrants out there. What's the exercise price on those warrants?
78 cents.
78. Okay, so
we have 15 million in cash right now, 0 debt on the books. Okay. Good revenue streams coming in, so we're in a good financial position right now.
It's a great financial position. Let's say the stock goes back to $2. Realistically, a lot of those warrants get exercised, and now you have 25 million.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's positioned as well. One of the things we should, we'll update on. We can't say anything specific, but bringing in the money in January, as we said, growing the team was a big priority. We've done a good job of that, and then Darius and I, a lot of our time right now is looking at acquisitions, and just to update people, because we've said it. I know people want to see us do it, but we have no shortage
weekly they want you to see it. They want to see new deals.
They want to see us buy something every week, and we're being, it's not for lack of things, I guess, coming our way. We have a very good pipeline, but we want to be very impactful and make some good long-term decisions on what we acquire. And so hopefully that's something, we'll be updating on. But that was a big reason to take financing then, put ourselves in a position to be ready to go and take advantage of opportunities. And especially now, as you said, things are coming off a bit in the market. So there could be some better opportunities than we were seeing a couple of months ago.
Okay, and I think what is it? It's one of your directors is very well connected in the market, right? That you're getting access to a lot of deal flow.
Yeah, I would say all of our directors, but yeah, we got one in particular who's been very, very good on deal flow for us, and sees. I feel like he sees everything that's for sale and not for sale. So we're, like I said, we're not short on that. And the nice thing is it's a lot of the things we're looking at are not ones that are, being shopped by a banker group or something. These are ones that we've got good relationships with, and we like the businesses, we know the people, and so we want to do it that way.
Can you give us a hint? I mean, in other words, I'm assuming that when you did that raise in January, you probably had a couple things in mind. I mean, potentially as possible acquisitions, no?
Yep. Yeah. We've had a few in mind, and we're still in the
talking. Are you talking?
We've been talking to a lot of people, so yeah, there's talking going on for sure.
Okay.
And a lot take time, especially in a highly regulated space. We have to be careful in terms of ownership structures of some of these groups and making sure, who the ultimate beneficial owners are, and making sure they fly with regulators and all sorts. Because we don't want to do anything right now that would impact our ability to enter the U.S. market, for example, or jeopardize the U.K. things.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why, I mean, some of the things we do, again, even just putting out games. Why can't we just throw it up on a website? Well, we've got to get through technical testing. We've got to get the RNG tested again. We've got to get the math tested, and then we got to get them into a certified random remote gaming server. So we, in the space we're in, some of these things take a bit longer than just putting up a website or throwing up a game that is not a licensed betting game. So same on the acquisition side, we got to put in a bit more time, I think.
So the business that you're in, essentially, there is, because of the regulations, everything else. There are high moats in this business. I mean, it's not like somebody can just get into this like, tomorrow, hey, we're gonna do, So I mean, there's a lot of in terms of the enterprise value that, I mean, the UK license should definitely be a help. So I'm if I'm trying to understand what you're saying is that I'm kind of reading into what you're saying is, okay, you got a bunch of possibilities, candidates, but you don't want to really push anything until after you get the UK gaming license, because if you do something with these guys now, then that's going to like open up more questions with they're going to ask, it's going to create more, you want to speed things up. And after the UK license is when you can kind of maybe, speed things up on the acquisition side. Yeah.
No, the UK wouldn't impact some. I mean, if they're a UK operator, it would, or then it would be a bit more work on what we're doing. So, but no, it's more about making sure we're not bringing on any shareholders of a certain size that we would have to go back to the regulator. So if they're a certain size, or a material change to the business, we would have to go back and sort of lengthen the process of getting a license if we're in progress.
Okay. All right. I think I just realized we're almost out of time here.
Okay.
Let's wrap up. What's in a nutshell? What's milestones coming up? You got the UK license. What else? What else is in the hopper for the next 6 weeks?
UK license. We'll have some some stuff going on the Vamo site specifically. We'll probably be back, and then hopefully. We'll have news on where the ear's at on the integration, and then fingers crossed, Sky.
Okay, so Vamos is really like, we're going to be hearing more about that, the Brazilian gaming business.
Yeah, we've been putting a lot of things in place. So as I said, we've got some new people on the ground in Brazil. We've got some contractors working on some things. We've got 2 digital agencies, and then a couple of bigger announcements we'll have coming.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds like a sizable operation. Okay, I'm going to let Darius, because Darius hasn't said too much today, so we're going to have Darius close it out. Darius, the favorite question we have is, in your opinion, top 3 reasons to want to own FansUnite right now for investors.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing we always talk about is team, right? Our team is world-class, from our board to our management to our technical team. So that helps make sure our software is, world-class as well. It's one of the best in the market. And I think one thing we don't really talk about really is kind of execution. When Scott and I come out and say we're going to do something, we go ahead, we do it, right? We put our heads down, we get that done. With our UK licenses, with next step being New Jersey licenses, doing our part for our casino games, doing our part for Colorado. When we put numbers out there in terms of revenue, we hit those numbers. We wanted to double revenue from 2019 to 2020. We did that. We want to double it again this year. We're on pace to do that. So for us, about when we put something out there publicly, we want to make sure we execute on it. And I think over the course of the last year and over the course of the last 7 months since the merger, we've really been able to do that.
Excellent. On that note, I want to thank you guys, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you. When you have the next big news.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, guys.